Welcome everyone to more Reddit stories. We just hit 100 subscribers, so thank you for that. You are all awesome. Today's subreddit is r/EntitledParents, including one where a psychotic mom put her own kid into a coma, then immediately tries to again after he gets out of the hospital. Let's jump in. Parents wanted me to give their kid my sword. So I'm a medieval enthusiast and like going to festivals in my armor and weapons. There are always a lot of families and kids at these festivals running around the castle and having fun. Sometimes a family will ask if their child could have a picture with me, and usually I let them because I did so too when I was younger. So this happened last year. I was at a festival and a family asks for a picture. German wasn't their first language, so communication was odd, but I got to the kid and gave him my sword for the picture. It was blunt for legal reasons. They take the picture and start walking away without giving me my sword back. I tell them to stop and gently take my sword back from the kid, but he wasn't too happy about it. At this point, the mom starts yelling at me why I'm stealing her son's sword and insulting me in some language from the Balkans, I think. I decide to ignore her and walk away. She runs after me and punches me in the back of the helmet and hurts her hand. Punching a metal plate made to withstand axes isn't the best idea. Now she said I stole the sword and assaulted her and should give it back. Soon security showed up, and luckily enough, some bystanders explained everything and she was escorted off the castle grounds. I'm sorry for the kid. He would have had a pretty good day if his mom wasn't such a B-word. Who punches plate armor and thinks it'll hurt anything but themselves? This entitled parent really didn't think things through, did she? Mom glued earrings onto a 6-year-old girl. My mom is Latina. In our culture, it's customary to have girls' ears pierced young, like halfway out the womb young. My mom followed that tradition and made sure that since I was an infant that I always had some form of earring to keep the holes open. Here's where things get crazy. When I got a little older, I became very fidgety. I would pull out my earrings to mess with them or tug on them while they were in. I lost many earrings this way, so my mom decided in all her brilliance that she would get a small pair of small gold hoops, place them in my ear, and super glue the little suckers on. They were the kind that was just a smooth hoop, so there weren't any latches or anything. I had them on for 2 years. My mom took care of them, quote unquote, rinsing my ears with salt water and reapplying super glue as needed. I didn't realize how weird and possibly abusive this was until I told my partner about it. He looked at me with wide eyes and asked if I was okay with it. I said yeah, like it was normal, until I asked my counselor and he informed me that it was in fact not normal. I got out of the hospital and entitled mom sent me right back. I just got out of the hospital for extensive knee surgery, and walking out the door of the hospital reminded me of this story. Important things to note: I have a severe allergy to cashews. It's bad enough that 1/100th of one will kill me if I'm not treated properly and quickly. Nowadays, I always make sure to have an EpiPen on me at all times, but when this story took place, I was a little more forgetful about it. I was 9 and didn't always have it. I have asthma, which can be a pretty lousy combination with anaphylaxis. At the time of this story, my dad was working for a company that treated him like garbage and wouldn't give him time off for anything except medical emergencies, pretty much. This story starts about 4 days before my 10th birthday. A week before my birthday, my dad's boss told him he was going to San Francisco for work stuff. We lived in Denver at the time, which meant my dad was going to miss my birthday. It was upsetting, but I understood, and he said we'd have a party once he got back. While he was gone, my brother and I were staying with entitled mom. At the time, we knew she was a little entitled, but my dad trusted her to take care of us. On day 3 of my dad's trip, my brother and I were playing in their living room when entitled mom offered us some granola bars as a snack. At the time, I was young and wasn't very cautious, so I didn't always read ingredients for things I was eating. Unfortunately, there were cashews in the granola bar, so when I took the first bite, I started to feel it pretty quickly after. Within minutes, I was throwing up everywhere in severe pain and my throat was closing up. And as if it couldn't get worse, that was when I realized I had forgotten my EpiPen. Then the panic and closing airways triggered an asthma attack, and I also didn't have my inhaler, so at that point entitled mom's boyfriend calls an ambulance and I pass out on the floor. The paramedics were able to keep me from dying of the combination of anaphylactic shock and an asthma attack, but I did end up slipping into a coma for 11 days. This meant I was in a coma on my birthday, but I guess that was probably pretty low on the list of concerns considering they weren't 100% sure I was going to make it out of the coma. So a week after my birthday, I finally wake up. At first, I was fairly calm about waking up in a hospital until I found out that I had been in a coma for 11 days, at which point I started panicking and almost gave myself another asthma attack. Anyway, they kept me there for a few days just to make sure I was okay and it was safe for me to go home. So we finally get home, and as soon as I walk in, I see my brother, my grandparents, my aunt, my uncle, my 2 cousins, entitled mom, and the neighbor mom and her kids, who my brother and I are good friends with, as well as a big sign that reads, "Happy birthday and welcome back to the land of the living." They had planned a surprise birthday party for me when they found out I was out of the coma, so we went about doing birthday party things and hanging out. I got some questions from my brother and cousins about the coma, while the neighbor mom bakes my cake. However, the only important thing that was happening at this time was the following conversation between entitled mom and the neighbor mom. Man, that must have been terrifying for him to go into that coma. I mean, imagine having to be that careful about everything you eat. Entitled mom replies, "Oh, don't tell me you buy all of that." "What?" asked the neighbor mom. "He was clearly faking it to get attention. Everyone knows that asthma and allergies aren't real." "Both of those are very real and very serious problems," neighbor mom said. "Whatever. You sheeple are just too stupid to see through the government's lies." Then entitled mom just wandered off. I feel it's important to note at this time the birthday cake had just been put in the oven and this conversation happened in the living room, which did not have a line of sight into the kitchen. After a while, the cake finally finished baking and we all congregated in the dining room to eat it. So everyone sang happy birthday to me and my aunt cut the cake and gave everyone a slice. I was about to take the first bite when the luckiest thing that could have happened. I dropped my fork on the floor. At this point, I, wanting to act all grown up and solve my own problems, decided I'd go into the kitchen and clean the fork myself. Right as I finish and start walking back out to the dining room, I hear my dad yell, "What the F did you just say?" I run out to see what's going on and see my dad standing up, staring daggers at entitled mom while she cowered in fear of him. Entitled mom whimpering, "It was for his own good." It turned out that after the conversation between entitled mom and the neighbor mom, entitled mom had snuck into the kitchen and poured most of a bag of mixed nuts that she had brought with her into the cake. Dad slams his hands onto the table and says, "How the F is that for his own good?" Entitled mom starting to gain some confidence as she doesn't see a problem with what's happening. "Well, if he had eaten the cake without knowing they were there, he wouldn't have been able to fake a reaction because he wouldn't have known there was anything in the cake to react to." "What the actual F is wrong with you?" Dad says. "I was trying to prove to you, sheeple, that allergies," Dad interjects. "I knew inviting you here was a mistake. I figured it was good for the boys to have you in their lives, but you've made it abundantly clear that it is not." "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying get the F out of my house and stay the F away from my kids." "You can't do that. They're my kids too." That's right, everyone. Entitled mom was my actual mom. Dad says, "Not after what you just pulled, they're not. And if you want to take this to court, I'll make sure that you aren't even allowed in the same state as them. Now get the F out of my house before I call the cops." "You just wait until my father hears about this." Her dad is very wealthy, so I think she was expecting him to help her get custody of my brother and me. We found out later that not only did her boyfriend break up with her and kick her out of his house, but when her dad found out about what she did, he refused to let her live with him, stopped giving her money, and said that if she took my dad to court, he would support my dad. As you can expect, she never took us to court. And as for the rest of the party, we just bought a new cake because nobody wanted to take the time to bake another one. We also just decided to throw out the pan that we had used for the first one because she had put so many nuts in it that we were worried about it contaminating anything we put in it after that. That mom is crazy. That is some serious child endangerment right there. She literally just tried to poison her own kid, all just to try to prove her point about some crazy conspiracy theory. She was willing to send her kid back to the hospital after he had just gotten out of a coma that she had put him in the first place, mind you. This level of psycho is just unprecedented. Stay away, OP, for your own sake. Entitled stepmom gets mad at me for having my period, then calls me a slut in front of my dad when I get on birth control. Bit of backstory, my periods were insanely painful. I've been hospitalized because of them. So when I was around 15, my stepmom and dad were going to a barbecue for my stepmom's brother. I don't remember the occasion, but it wasn't for anything big. They asked me to come along and I told them I didn't feel that great, so I was gonna stay home. They left and about 2 hours later, I fell to the floor in complete pain. They were still out and my dogs found me on the floor. My pit bull stayed next to me while my boxer ran around for someone. Yes, this is important. I texted my dad telling him he needed to come home, but he didn't answer. So I texted my grandma. Hey grandma, I think I started my period. Do you have any painkillers? I asked. Of course I do. I'm out shopping right now, but I'll drop them off once I'm done here, replied grandma. Okay, thank you. About 5 minutes later, I get a call from my stepmom. The conversation goes as follows. Why did you text your dad that? Said stepmom. Because I'm laying on the floor in pain and can't get up. Why can't you get up? I'm on my period and this pain wouldn't stop unless I stayed curled up in a ball like this. Ugh, fine, we are coming home, but don't ever text your dad with that again. Then she hung up. I waited about 15 minutes for them to arrive home. My boxer ran over to them and showed them where I was. My dad picked me up and carried me to my room. My stepmom gets some painkillers, a heating pad, and then tells me to sleep. She was mad the rest of the day and wouldn't even look at me. The next day, we met with my biological mom and my dad tells her everything that happened. My mom and I decided to start looking into birth control. We found out that I can't have the pill due to the fact that I have epilepsy. So we heard about an implant that was still in testing and how it wouldn't have an effect. So we went with that one. I told my dad and stepmom that I got birth control to help and my dad was happy. Then my stepmom says, well, I hope you know that means you can't go around sleeping with everyone. I sat there in shock that she said something like that in front of my dad. I'm a demisexual, which means I don't have sexual attractions towards people I have no emotional bond with. So random stranger hookups were out the window. Around dinner time, I still couldn't stop thinking about what she said. My dad knew that something was troubling me and said, she didn't mean it, you know, that's not how it meant to come out. I believed my dad, of course. Mistake number one. When dinner was finally served, she kept giving me dirty looks and looked at the food like I gave her a severed human head to eat. Did OP help make any of this? Said stepmom. Dad replies, everything except the vegetables that you made. My dad wanted me to grow up to be the cook in the family. My stepmom then proceeds to only eating the vegetables, like I'm going to give her some sort of disease because I got on birth control. I ate about half my food and then cleaned up. My dad apologized for her, but I didn't believe it. What is wrong with her, dude? How can she treat her stepdaughter like that? I legitimately don't understand. Does she think that birth control is the work of the devil or something? I think she might just have this preconceived notion that birth control is only used for promiscuous people because they don't want to get pregnant. She doesn't seem to realize that birth control can also be used for health reasons, but she also sounds a little bit crazy in the head as well. You hit my kid with a snowball during a snowball fight. So my friend had this happen to him and wanted me to share it here. I will talk from his perspective though. For context, I'm at a snowball fight and I'm hiding behind a snow mound. I see a kid sneak around the mound, so I hit him with a snowball. He cries and runs home. I don't really think much of it, so I keep playing and tell my friend on the team. He laughs and we play peacefully for about 3 minutes. Cue the entitled mom. Why did you hit my kid with a snowball? Ma'am, it's a snowball fight. But why did you target my poor angel? Gestures towards her son. I didn't, ma'am. He was about to hit me with a snowball. This is abuse. The police will hear about this and I'll see you in court. She storms off and is stopped by friends and parents. It was his house. What's going on? The parents ask. My friend explains everything. Entitled mom says, you raised such an effing rude child. She is forced to leave. And that was our /entitled parents. Leave a like if you enjoyed, dislike if you disliked it, and subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks everyone. I will see you next time.